This is the Grow My Clinic podcast by Clinic Mastery, where we help you deliver amazing client experiences to grow your clinic. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Grow My Clinic podcast. My name is Jack O'Brien. I'm excited to be in your earbuds this morning or this afternoon. We have a guest with us, Darren Rieck from Nookal. Darren, how are you today, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Jack. How are you?
Mate, I am very good, and I'm excited to chat with you. For those who are unaware, probably living under a rock somewhere, or at least don't have the internet, Darren and Nookal are one of the key practice management softwares across the health landscape, not just in Australia, but throughout New Zealand, the UK, and into the US now as well. And Nookal is one of the leading cloud-based practice management softwares as opposed to those who are traditionally server-based. So, Darren, as we get through today, we're going to lean a little bit into what Nookal does and how practice management softwares can help practice owners. But before we get there, who is Darren Rieck? Where did you come from? What did you study? And how did you end up running a practice management software?
So my background is physiotherapy. I went to the University of Queensland and I have been doing physio for 21 years now. Previously, over that 21 years, I'd owned two physio clinics and I've sold one and currently own a small shareholding in another one.
Sure.
I actually still do 10 to 15 clients a week, but that's pretty much exiting in the next little while because Nookal's getting busy.
That's interesting.
And over that time, yeah, so I'll be stopping that because of the demand of the management system. But over that time, I've used 4 practice management systems that didn't really give me the information. Like, I'm really passionate about not just storing the data, but analysing the data. What meaning does it give you? So my business partner was an IT specialist. And one day he came to me and said, I've got this idea, Darren. I said, well, I've got this idea. And I said, well, let's just join forces and do it.
Yep.
And ever since then, I mean, we've been going 6.5 years now. And it's Jamie and myself have gone from strength to strength, I think.
Sure. Fascinating. So let's talk about the practice ownership for a little bit there. What did you love most and what did you hate most about being a practice owner?
I love treating the clients. I love helping people and feeling like I give them a better way of living their life. And when I say help, you can't fix everyone, but you can help everyone, like even with a bit of education, whatever it is. So I love treating my clients. And look, my clients built my house. They're my electrician. They're some of them I play golf with. So I'm a pretty personal guy, and I will miss them, to be honest with you.
Sure.
What I hated was probably the logistics of running a business with the way red tape, employment agreements, all the other non-clinical type things. So I think that is laborious. It needs to be done. It's necessary. I understand that, but it takes up a lot of your time when you could be, more effectively doing treating people.
For sure, and I think so that'll resonate with a lot of our listeners. We're all health professionals. Yeah, if we're listening to this podcast, you started out as a health professional, and we end up in business for whatever reason. Whether that's we think we want more freedom,
that's right.
End up working for less money for a crappy boss, and you can't take any more.
True.
Whether that's we want to improve our profession or, some other, reason that inspires us. But how many of us just are really passionate about our profession, treating patients, whether that's physio or chiro or EP or speech pathology. And business is one of those things that we don't learn. So why then do you start a practice management software?
Yeah, so again, it was due to the meeting with my business partner. The ability to have a bit of control over the way that the management system analyzes the clinic. So, for example, one of my passions is we've got an occupancy report in Nookal, and I want to create an automation or intelligence within Nookal to say, all right, Jack, your physios are 75% full for 3 months. Have you thought about hiring a new physio? So it'll send you an automated email to make you think about that. So I want to be able to help the business owner grow through analysis of their data. Stuff like that. And that's where we're heading in the next, however long, but we're heading down that data analysis, meaningful data analysis, not just taking appointments, recording invoices and writing clinical notes. The other stuff that actually helps you run your practice better.
Yeah, I love that. And there are so many elements that these days we've got so much data at our fingertips, right? And being able to collate that in a meaningful way to help business owners make decisions
That's right.
is really important. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of Nookal shortly. But before we get there, what's the differences now running a software company versus running a clinic? What are some of the challenges or differences for you?
International employment law, international security law is like I have currently lawyers internationally, like in other countries, and accountants, advisors in other countries. So reading not just say tax laws in the UK and the US and Australia, for example, but understanding the implications. So multinational, that's probably the hardest thing I've had to deal with. We're a full remote team, so everyone works from home basically. And we love that because it creates flexibility. I mean, I'm all about results. I don't care when you do them, as long as you get the results done. And so probably dealing with those international type employment agreements and what have you has been the hardest thing I've had to learn.
Yeah, and I'd imagine in some senses that challenge for you as a leader is similar to those who are listening, might be leading a team of practitioners and admin staff across a lot of times multiple locations. How do you as a leader keep inspiring your team if they're remote and they're not in your clinic and they're not in your rooms?
That's a great question. So we send, that's an awesome question. It's about managing a remote team. It's probably taken us 5 years to learn. How do you set a culture when you don't see the person every day, right?
Yeah.
And it's still tough. So we send out gifts via like movie vouchers. Okay. We make sure we do video calls with not just audio calls, but video calls, like so you can actually see the person. So like one of my staff was in Melbourne. He's gone to move into Asia and he's doing his job. He's doing it great. And it's like, awesome, mate. You can do that. No problems. You're getting the job done. And also making sure we have biannual sort of get-togethers, or if we say the team on the Gold Coast goes out to the movies, we send movie vouchers out to them, and sending fruit and what have you out to each of our staff members monthly as well. Things like that, just rewards for being part of the team and just little things. And also, seeing the people via video is really important.
Yeah, you're right. It's that human touch, right? And I think it's important for us to remember as clinic owners that we don't need to be the best therapist or the one with the most expertise. Our job is to lead and inspire our people to do great work. And I assume that's a lot of your role. Yeah, you're good, but you're not the technical expert, or you're not premier IT programmer. You're there to lead a team.
My job is to make decisions, provide some strategy, and to give advice as and when needed. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of Nookal at all, as much as my team does, but I know the strategy of where I want to be. Right. My team follow me, and I do a vision day every January, and then we have quarterly meetings every quarter. We talk about, this is where our vision is, this is where we're tracking, guys, this is how I feel like we need to get better at, blah, 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 and then my team go away and do it. So I give them that decisiveness, which is what they like.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's really good leadership. Okay, so let's talk about practice management software. Historically, that used to be done in paper and pencil. Actually, the clinic that I bought a number of years ago still had a pencil and a piece of paper for the diary, notes in. I feel sick to my mouth to think about paper. And then obviously there's server-based kind of local software and the cloud. For the uninitiated, can you explain the difference between a server-based software and cloud-based software?
Yeah, so a server-based system is where the data is stored in-house in a server. So if your clinic burns down and you lose your server, you lose your data. As opposed to the cloud, which is, through various data centers throughout the world, they're backed up in data centers, fully encrypted, fully securitized with armed guards at the front door. They reach international security standards from the knowledge I have. And basically all you need is an internet connection, and the data is traveling encrypted up and down the internet, and then when it's sitting in our cloud servers. So there is a difference. So basically you can be skiing in France and you can log on to the internet and you can look at your data via the cloud software. So it's really flexible, and it's the future in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. So to sum that up, a clinic owner, practitioner, admin staff can access your clinic data as long as they've got an internet connection and a device like a phone or a computer.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned a little bit about security there. It's hot on everyone's lips at the moment, especially in and around Europe. We've got plenty of listeners in the UK. Can you explain how well Nookal complies with things like GDPR and privacy terms and conditions, that stuff?
Yep. So we have over the last 3 months, we have planned and systematically rewritten our whole database schema to meet GDPR compliance within the UK and the European Union. And that has brought in things like two-factor authentication and in password rotations. There's a whole list that I don't know the exact detail of everything, but in terms of the way we have run our business, we have met every single compliance issue within our scope to be as secure as possible for the end user.
Yeah, sure. So I guess clinic owners can rest assured that you guys are compliant with GDPR for the EU, but also with the Privacy Act in Australia and the Privacy
That's right.
Act in New Zealand and anywhere else listeners are. It's things like, you mentioned to me off air around privacy that Nookal can't actually see my clinic's patient data. Is that
so it's encrypted. It's encrypted in the database. That's correct. Look, what would happen is if there was an issue with the database, that there'd have to be a whole encryption protocol that occurs to be able to have a look at an individual database because they're set up separately. So on the face value, none of our users, none of our staff, except 2 people who have the master API key, they still can't do it without a compliance process, which we've got written out. They can't look at your data. So we have it encrypted. So it's, totally.
Because I think that's a lot of clinic owners' fears, right? When it comes to cloud-based software, is it safe? Who owns my data? Where is it? And the truth is that you guys have the same standards as a bank or any other financial.
That's exactly right.
Potentially
That's
more.
Exactly right. That's right. Yeah. And I mean, we've just written like a whole new terms and conditions that we recognise that our users legally need to retain clinical notes, history, and notes for specific, and we provide you with an export tool and clinical notes for your own retention. So that's changed our terms and conditions. So it's your data. Yeah. We recognise it and put it in writing that it's your data, not ours.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. So let's continue to talk about data then. I think you and I share a similar passion for spreadsheets and a bit nerdy in that sense.
Yes, I've got master spreadsheets.
One of the features of Nookal that I really love is the ability to get so many reports and data points to help me as a clinic owner make meaningful decisions. Can you run us through why that's so important to you and what are some of the cool things that Nookal can do from a reporting point?
Cool, thank you. So the way that I look at the clinic from my experience is that it's a flow of a patient walking through the front door, through to the room, back in their room, back out the front office staff, and then walking out the door with a rebooking. So I've broken up my reports into different sections to allow for each member of that chain to collect data on their area. For example, front office staff, what data they need. They need to look at cancellations. They need to look at, invoices. They need to look at the banking for the day. They need to look, are there any uninvoiced appointments that they haven't invoiced for that day before they leave their shift? Sure. So things like that. So that's your administration type module. And then you've got your other modules, which are like your clinic modules. So you want to have a look at your discharges, your clinical notes. Have your clinical notes been written? Online bookings, how they come into the clinic through an online booking or what have you.
Right.
And then we break it up into management and statistics and obviously marketing. So there's different facets of reporting that you can have a look at. And, some of the other things is I like the average transaction. What does the average client spend in your clinic? What's your CVA? What's your occupancy? We just introduced a new one called the new client retention. So it's like how many sessions after that initial consult do they book in for? So what is your NPR or you know what I'm saying? Like, do they do bulk bookings, right? Are they bulk booking or not? Yeah, so things like that we've put in as well.
And I love that it's super flexible and customizable. Essentially, people can filter by practitioner, by location, by appointment type, so that clinic owners can get meaningful data to help them make the right decisions. One that we were talking about off air was something about predicting when to hire the next staff and utilizations. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like we run an occupancy report for. I'll just pull it up. So with the occupancy report, you can look at the DNA rate, the UTA rate, and the cancellation rate of your individual practitioners. And then you can compare each practitioner for different locations over a given period of time. And then at the bottom of the table, the summary, you can actually look at your clinic as a whole. So you can do benchmarking. So when I do a performance review for my staff, I benchmark all my practitioners against the clinic for their cancellation rate. I benchmark their CVA against the clinic as a whole. I benchmark them for their average transaction, their forward booking average, things like that. So a lot of it, we create tables that allow you to benchmark.
Fantastic.
Which is important for a review and what have you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And to be clear, CVA, Darren, can you just give us that definition? Most people would say it's the most important number in a clinic. What is it?
So your CVA or your PVA, your client visit average. So I tend to call my people I treat as clients because I think they're getting better, as opposed to patient visit average. It's the average number of consultations that you have seen those clients for over a given period of time. We've got an exact definition in Nookal, but we are going to be doing the client is the services divided by the new clients over a given period of time.
And
we're going to be correct.
Who aren't familiar, that number's super important, right? Because it's an indicator of not just how many appointments did they show up for and how much money did we make out of them. That's not why we calculate that number. But we as clinicians know that the more time someone is seen, the better that they get, right? The more experience,
correct.
The ones who get great outcomes see clients more than the average. And now, no one's advocating over servicing, of course, but you want to be able to measure that. Yeah,
look, and I think that I get asked that a lot. Like I probably speak to up to 40 clinics a week and they go, well, what should the average CVA be? Now, for me, as a physiotherapist of 21 years, for my personal way of treating my clients, I look at a CVA of sort of 8 to 10. And to make an objective outcome, you need 4 to 6 sessions. And then to maintain and manage the final stages of someone's condition, I think the 8 to 10 sort of brings you where you need to be to create a really good objective outcome for a client.
For sure. Yeah.
So, but everyone's different.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit more specifically about Nookal? You're a physio, so I'm going to put myself in my listener's shoes. Say I'm a podiatrist or an exercise physiologist. Is Nookal just for physios or anyone?
No, so it's totally flexible. So we've got psychologists, pods, sports therapists, physios, chiros, osteos, pretty much my therapists. So the way that Nookal's set up is you get a blank canvas when you first see it, and when you first subscribe, and you can create your own clinical templates based on your way of doing things. And
actually, can you tell us a bit about that, Darren? Like the features of your clinical notes and case notes is amazing, right? Can you tell us some of the features?
Yeah. So for me, cases are paramount in how we treat our clients. So say someone comes in with a neck injury and you treat them for 8 to 10 sessions over a given period of time. That could be case 1, so cervical spine, and then 2 years later they come in for their knee. And they might take 15 sessions for that. You can we've got a client visit average, but we've also got a case visit average. So we've got the 2 different statistics within Nookal to allow you to go, well, this is the average number of sessions per case, and whereas this is the average number of sessions per client. So that's where the cases is really important. And for work cover, for insurance purposes, they don't need to see all the private stuff that the patient's done. So you just download the work cover case and send that off to whoever. And so, cases is really important in terms of the way I think as a practitioner the way the world's going anyway.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's a natural flow of how we as clinicians want to keep our notes. Yeah?
That's right.
You do the cases, you got body charts, and you can customize all sorts of those templates. I guess that begs the question, what are some of the features of Nookal, maybe or practice management systems in general, that you think are really useful, but are probably the hidden secrets, the gems that no one's using or using to their full potential? What do you wish users would use more of?
That's a really good question. That's an excellent question. To be honest with you, our users that we currently have, it would be based on cases, Jack. Like I've done my master's degree in research from the University of Queensland on the cervical spine. I worked up at the Whiplash Clinic 18 years ago. And I'm really interested in working out like what is the average number of sessions that it takes for a CO1 as opposed to a C1-2 headache to get better.
Sure.
So you could actually, within Nookal, draw down to that detail and look up. And if you use the case title of CO1 and then case title of C1-2,
Sure.
and then look at the case visit average, you could work that out over a given period of time. That granularity, private sector probably don't do enough of, which, you know,
Sure.
that data analysis is what needs to happen in the world, I think, for insurance purposes.
Well, it makes sense. And it means from insurance purposes and also from that business point of view, there's a commercial reality to what we do. And we can't just go off our gut, right? It can't just be emotion or how we think we should do things. Data-led decisions lead to better outcomes from a clinical point of view, but also from a commercial point of view.
Yeah, so if you can, if you have that data and you can look, okay, well, my cervical headaches over the last 2 years have taken on average 5.6 sessions. When you diagnose a cervical headache that comes in, you can say to that patient with confidence, over the past 2 years, it's taken me between 5 and 6 sessions to get this better. And that can help you make a better clinical decision, a clinical outcome for the client.
Yeah.
That's where cases are really important.
I love that. Okay, so we've touched on a whole bunch of the different features of Nookal and your story, the background, and I love that it seems to me the values of yourself and of Nookal are really about doing the right thing by patients and empowering clinics with all the tools that they need to make the right decision. How would you sum up the vibe of Nookal?
We are probably the vibe. That's a good question. So Nookal is an honest, practical practice management system that is always looking to improve and hear what our subscribers have to say. We're always trying to listen. Whether we action it straight away, you can't action it straight away because that's not the reality, but we always want to listen and try and improve.
Yeah, I think that would resonate with me. It's fairly down-to-earth, practical, great guys, and fairly flexible. The integrations, the range of integrations, I mean, that's a whole nother episode that we can talk about, how you guys make it work with things like Clinic Apps and Tyro and Medicare and DVA and PhysiTrack and all of it. I mean, we work with a lot of those organisations.
Yeah, absolutely. They're great to work with.
They're absolutely. That constant push forward to progress the industry and progress the PMS world is fantastic. And Darren, we really appreciate you jumping on the podcast and giving us a bit of an insight really into how data can help us manage our practices better. I think that's the takeaway here. If people want to learn more about you, about Nookal, maybe give it a trial, have a look around, have a bit of a sniff, a bit of a nosy, where should they head?
So if they go to nookal.com, nookal.com, and there's a green button on there that says start trial, they can do a 30-day free trial.
Great. And that means they can import their data, have a practice.
Yep, they can import their data. And if they want to, we've got an online booking system where you can book a 30-minute training session. You can do that as well. That's free.
Fantastic. And you've got great support staff, right? Different chats and phone calls and all sorts of things.
Yep. I've got support staff all around the world, and we got 4 different channels. So it's all written on the website for you to read.
So that is nookal.com, nookal.com. Nookal.com is where to head. And if you want any of the notes from this episode, you can head to clinicmastery.com/podcast. That is clinicmastery.com/podcast. Darren, thank you for joining us on this episode, mate. It has been an absolute blast. And we look forward to seeing you another episode really soon. Bye for now.
This is the Grow My Clinic podcast by Clinic Mastery, where we help you deliver amazing client experiences to grow your clinic.